Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome if you are new. Thank you for taking time out of your day to check the video out. We have more PlayStation news, rumors, and leaks to go over and cover here today. So before we get into it, I do want to ask you a question and you can answer it down in the comments below. And that is, do you think Insomniac's Wolverine is going to release in 2024? Or do you think it's actually going to release later on in 2025? Let me know down below. But we're going to dive right into the first topic here, which talks about Konami and a new Silent Hill team. This is being reported by Push Square. Konami appears to be laying the foundations for a successor to its former internal studio Team Silent, which developed the first 4 Silent Hill games. A recruitment page is advertising roles for a newly formed Silent production team and is giving those picked the chance to be involved in game production in a cutting-edge development environment. The page then goes on to call it the Silent Hill production team, confirming ties to the survival horror franchise. In a Q&A section, Konami states it's looking for hires who, quote, like action games and horror games, as well as people who like foreign dramas and movies that deal with serious themes, end quote. They will also like works with a heavy atmosphere and heavy themes. The publisher is currently looking for artists, planners, engineers, and project managers. More than a year ago now, Konami announced its plans to resurrect the Silent Hill series with a remake of Silent Hill 2 from Bloober Team, a more indie-focused spin-off in Silent Hill Townfall out of no code, and what appears to be the next mainline entry with Silent Hill F. Very little has been shared of the 3 titles since their reveals in 2022, though some recent retailer listings have given some fans hope of news concerning James Sunderland and his wife may not be too far away. So for those who aren't aware, Silent Hill 2 Remake has went up for pre-order across multiple retailers, but we still don't have a release date yet and there hasn't been a new trailer, so it seems like we're going to be getting that relatively soon. But yes, Konami seems to be getting very serious about re-entering AAA game development, and they are now creating a new Silent Hill team, really trying to court some talent here. They're making it clear that they'll be working in a cutting-edge development environment, which I think is good news. And I think that Silent Hill 2 Remake and everything else that they've announced thus far is just the beginning. I think that there's a lot of potential with this series. I think everybody knows that. And hopefully Konami is going to be able to realize that potential. It seems like with Silent Hill Ascension, not off to the greatest start here, certainly not, but I think there's still a lot of hope in what they're going to do here with Silent Hill 2 Remake, as well as the next mainline entry, which we still haven't heard much about in Silent Hill F. So yeah, I'll be sure to keep you guys updated with this. But we are going to move on to the next topic, which is an update on WB Games, Wonder Woman, and their overall approach to game development going forward. This is being reported by WCCF Tech. There have been a lot of hints lately that the games as a service bubble is bursting. Bungie is badly missing its Destiny revenue targets. Sony is delaying half of their live service titles. Epic admitting that they've been losing money, to name just a few, but it seems some publishers haven't got the memo just yet. Case in point, Warner Brothers Discovery recently released their earnings, and CEO David Zaslav says the goal is to double down on games as a service. It says, and similar to the leaders in the industry, we've led with multiple key franchises, each of which is $1 billion in gaming property. Harry Potter, Game of Thrones, DC, which is mainly Batman today, and Mortal Kombat, whose most recent release, Mortal Kombat 1, has sold nearly 3 million copies since its launch in mid-September. So we've got the proven IP and franchises, the world-class studios and publishing talent, and we intend to continue to invest more capital and more resources into the business. Our focus is on transforming our biggest franchises from largely console and PC-based with 3 to 4 year release schedules to include more always-on gameplay through live services, multi-platform and free-to-play extensions, with the goal to have more players spending more time on more platforms. Ultimately, we want to drive engagement and monetization of longer cycles and at higher levels. We have specific capabilities, we are currently under scale, and see significant opportunity to generate greater post-purchase revenue. And so it goes on to say here that a Monolith Productions job listing for the upcoming Wonder Woman game lists helping maintain a live software product or game as an important skill. So, yes, it is abundantly clear at this point that the upcoming Wonder Woman game, for those who may have been looking forward to that, is in some way, shape, or form going to be a live service game. But we are getting confirmation from WB themselves that this is the plan going forward. They are going to double down on live service efforts. We know that the Suicide Squad game that's coming out is going to be a live service title. It is worth noting that in this job ad for the Wonder Woman game, they do reconfirm the Nemesis system is returning. So there's at least that. But yeah, I think that this is something that doesn't necessarily get many people very excited. We know that Sony is making it clear that they're still pursuing their live service efforts, but we still have yet to see how that's going to play out. And now we are hearing WB is going to get more involved in it. So yeah, I figured I would report this to you guys, let you know, and I'll be interested to see what you have to say. But we're going to move on to the next topic here, which talks about Final Fantasy VII Rebirth being reported by WCCF Tech. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth will continue the Final Fantasy VII Remake trilogy with a more open world-like design. To that end, Naoki Hamaguchi, one of the game's directors, admitted he took inspiration from Western games like CD Projekt Red's The Witcher and Guerrilla Games' Horizon. Speaking at Paris Games Week to a bunch of French media, this is what he had to say. We always watch games that come out from home or elsewhere. The experience gained in the open world of Final Fantasy XVI has served us a lot, but that's not all, because personally, I'm a big fan of The Witcher and Horizon. So we're taking an example of what worked, but keeping in mind to add our touch to this game so that it is specific to the Final Fantasy VII universe. The focus on larger spaces comes not only from the development team, but also from the fans' reception of the previous installment, according to Final Fantasy VII Rebirth producer Yoshinori Kitase and Hamaguchi. Hamaguchi says, as you know, Final Fantasy VII was a story-driven game. People really liked it, but they also wanted to be able to walk around and go wherever they wanted at any time. It is this kind of commitment that encouraged us to improve freedom of action. Some players liked Final Fantasy VII Remake, but felt a need for exploration. This will be the case here with much more freedom. Kitase adds, we game designers are very interested in player feedback and we look at social media, so don't hesitate to give your opinion on the internet or by meeting us like today. All of your comments are important and I will leave with them. So there you go. We have some more quotes coming from the directors of the game, citing games such as The Witcher and the Horizon games as inspiration for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which is not too surprising because everything we're seeing about Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, I think it gives a very clear feeling of this is going to be significantly larger, and they are putting a focus on exploration. A lot of people are very much excited for this game, understandably so. Everything we've seen of it looks very, very good so far. So there you go. Wanted to give you guys an update on Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, but we are moving on to the next topic, which is an update on the PlayStation 5 Slim model. This is being reported by PlayStation Lifestyle. The PS5 Slim's detachable disk drive seems to work on multiple consoles as long as players register it to the console they intend to use it on. A YouTuber who tested this confirmed that a single disk drive can be registered to multiple PS5s at the same time. Sony never officially explained how the PS5 Slim detachable disk drive would work, so eyebrows were raised when it was discovered via a leaked retail units box that the drive needs to be paired online prior to use. Many assumed that this was bad news for game preservation, while some expressed concerns that Sony would limit the use of and repairability of drives. However, this is not the case. YouTuber TronixFix got their hands on multiple PS5 Slim units and found that the handshake is a one-off requirement, and unless players factory reset their consoles and unregister their drives manually, they'll remain registered to a console for good. What's more is that players can pop the drive into a new console and will be able to register it, as Sony allows multiple simultaneous registrations. Sony has also made it easy to swap the disk drive back and forth. Swapping the drives between consoles will not prompt players to re-register if they've already paired it once. All of this is demonstrated in the YouTube video itself. And so Yeah, just figured I would let you guys know about this because there have been a lot of questions popping up about the PS5 Slim with the detachable disk drive, because we've really never seen something like this in the console space. And it's good to know, I think, for anybody who is in the future potentially planning on buying multiple PS5 Slims, or may have to, detach that disk drive and pair it to another console for whatever reason. So there you go. We are moving on to the next topic here, which talks about Sony having some unannounced single-player games lined up for 2024. Now, this is a rumor, and this is being reported by Gaming Bolt. They say, compared to what we've come to expect from Sony, where its yearly output of single-player games is concerned, 2023 has been a light year, with the recently released Marvel's Spider-Man 2 being its only major release this year, with no major single-player releases officially confirmed for 2024 either, with the exception of Team Ninja's Rise of the Ronin. Should we expect next year to be lighter as well? Well, it seems Sony might have some releases in the pipeline that we don't yet know about in an official capacity. That's per game developer Shinobi602, who currently works at Wushu Studios, who said in a recent post on Reset Era that Sony has, quote, other stuff, end quote, planned for 2024 besides the aforementioned Rise of the Ronin and Death Stranding 2, which, curiously enough, doesn't actually have an official 2024 launch window yet, before adding, quote, whether it makes it or not is another question, of course, end quote. As opposed to how recent years have gone, not much is currently known about what single-player games Sony's first-party studios are currently working on, or what could launch in 2024. Reports have said that Marvel's Wolverine is targeting a fall 2024 release, though it remains to be seen whether that's Insomniac's actual target and whether they'll be able to hit it. Having just put out Marvel's Spider-Man 2, meanwhile, leaks have also claimed that Sony Santa Monica is working on a large DLC or expansion for God of War Ragnarok. So yeah, this is something I did want to cover and let you guys know about. There are obviously many question marks when it comes to PlayStation games going into 2024. We know that February is going to start off very strong with Helldivers 2 and Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. But beyond that, we really don't know anything. And so there was speculation that games like Death Stranding 2 and Rise of the Ronin are going to release next year. And it seems like there's a very good chance of that. But we're also getting a little bit of confirmation here from Shinobi602 that apparently Sony does have other single-player games that they would like to launch next year, but it's still kind of up in the air right now as to whether or not it's actually going to happen and whether it's going to make it. But it'll be really interesting to see with the Game Awards coming up and just going into 2024 if Sony actually makes any announcements. I think a lot of people are anticipating that they will, and so we'll want to keep an eye on that. Personally, I think if Sony can deliver games like Death Stranding 2 and Rise of the Ronin alongside other console exclusives like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and Silent Hill 2 Remake, that would make for a very strong year for PS5 exclusives. But of course, people want to know what's going on the first party side of things, and so that actually helps us move on to the next topic here, where we have a report regarding Insomniac's Wolverine as well as Bend Studios' new IP. Again, being reported by PlayStation Lifestyle, a concept artist may have ended up corroborating previous rumors of Wolverine's PS5 release date window, alongside leaking a release window for Bend Studios' unannounced PS5 game. The leak comes from the ArtStation profile of Hung Nyai, hopefully I'm saying that correctly, who has since scrubbed any mention of Wolverine and Bend Studio. Screenshots of the ArtStation profile have been making the rounds online, with Marvel's Wolverine listed as a 2024 release and Bend Studios game listed as a 2025 release. While these could merely be placeholders, we've previously heard reports that Insomniac Games is targeting a release window of 2024 for Wolverine. Journalist and insider Jeff Grubb suggested as much. Back in February, Jeff Grubb claimed to have heard that Wolverine is targeting a 2024 release, but could possibly slip into 2025. He further claimed that Wolverine will be a semi-open world game with a linear design and will be targeting a mature audience. Not much else is known about Sony Bend's mystery project. As soon as this made the rounds, he removed any mention of Wolverine and Bend Studio from his portfolio. It's possible that he made a mistake, as he works as a contractor, so we do have to take this with a grain of salt. And so Yeah, this is the big thing with rumors like this. I mean, it's an ArtStation profile. It very much could just be an individual taking their, their best guess at when these games are set to release. But specifically with Wolverine, it is true that we heard from Jeff Grubb that apparently Insomniac internally is targeting a 2024 release window. And I have no doubt that they're going to push for that. We know that Insomniac's output has been um, top tier this generation. I would not at all be surprised if they cannot make that 2024 launch, though. If they have to push it to 2025, I'm actually totally okay with that, because I'd much rather them take their time with Wolverine, get it where it needs to be, make sure it's not being rushed to release. Just take your time. But when it comes to Sony Ben's new IP, a 2025 release actually does sound relatively plausible when you consider that the last game they released was Days Gone in 2019. So they've been working on this game for quite some time. And just in case anybody isn't aware, Sony Ben did officially confirm that they are working on a new AAA IP. So it's not a sequel to Days Gone. It's something brand new. There have been some rumors in the past that apparently it's going to be in the stealth action genre, and it's going to take inspiration from games like Metal Gear Solid 5, as well as Hitman and Splinter Cell. We have no idea if there's any truth to that, but it would make sense when you consider the history of Ben's studio, with the Siphon Filter games and whatnot. But either way, these are two big AAA games that are currently in the works at PlayStation Studios that I fully anticipate we're going to hear about in 2024. Again, I'm not necessarily saying I'm expecting any of these games to release, but certainly we should get some announcements and some new trailers. So there's your update on those two games. But we are now going to move to the final topic of the video, which talks about Sony taking control of the UK as PS5 market share climbs to 51%, being reported by Push Square. They say, as has been reflected in other parts of Europe, like in France, where Sony currently is beating the Xbox Series consoles by a ratio of 90%, the PS5 has gained 51% market share in the UK over the past 6 months. By comparison, Nintendo has just 25% market share, while Microsoft has dipped as low as 23%. In the house of Mario's case, the Switch is in its twilight years, so a decline is anticipated at this point in its life cycle. This demonstrates serious growth for Sony's device, as its overall share throughout the past 12 months is at about 43%. It shows that the PS5 has been on an upward trajectory these past 6 months, while its rival has declined. According to data analysis GfK, this is all due to aggressive price promotions and the release of Sony's recent EA Sports FC 24 bundle, all of which have done wonders for Sony's new-gen console in Britain. The real worry for PlayStation rivals is that it looks like the Japanese giant is going to be even more aggressive in the run up to Christmas with the release of its revised PS5 model and key titles like Marvel Spider-Man 2. We could see its market share growing even further throughout the holidays, and with Sony forecasting 25 million console sales this fiscal year, it could potentially blow its competition away if it manages to hit those targets. And so, yeah, just some more interesting data to go over here that isn't necessarily surprising, but it just shows that, regardless of everything else that's happening in the industry, Sony is still on an upward trajectory with the PS5 and market share. And obviously, many things in the gaming industry are in flux and transforming slowly over the years, but we know that Sony still views the console as the main priority. And with that in mind, they are seemingly doing very, very well, even in the face of the competition with the Xbox Series consoles. And so there you go. We'll have to keep an eye on this as we go further. But that is going to do it for this video, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. I hope you did find it informative. If you did, be sure to leave it a like. It really helps the videos out more than you know. If you are new here to the channel, please consider hitting that subscribe button as well. Be sure to hit the bell notification icon and feel free to share this video out on top of all that. But until next time, guys, take care.